Hey guys, EST here, and you know I like to keep it ultra budget friendly on this channel, but I'm doubling down on the prepping for cheap lifestyle with this video. We're actually going to run it into the negative. Whether you've got a mental or actual written down list of the items you think you need to acquire and in what priority order, it probably adds up to a pretty penny, so we're about to knock some money off that balance. I'm of course talking about items that you might think you need, but you actually don't, and I'm going to explain why for each one. Let's just jump in. 1, I hear this all the time and it drives me nuts, which actually, coincidentally enough, was the working title of this series. Hey, you should stock up on liquor because high alcohol content liquor never goes bad. It'll lift your spirits and let you loosen up and de-stress. Yeah, no, you should never be impaired. Like, period. I'm not even talking about, like, prepping or an emergency. In your daily life, if you need to rely on that, get help, okay? I'm German, I'm Irish, I'm from Wisconsin. I have never had a drink in my entire life, and I think it should be banned worldwide. So besides drinking it yourself, when people are like, oh yeah, if you can't clean the water, it'll be a clean source. No, it dehydrates you. Oh, what else do people say? It's a wonderful trade item. You should minimize trading. The whole point is that you already have what you need. So you're gonna play general goods shopkeeper just because it's fun, because that's your new role in the post-apocalypse? Come on. Every single trade, you could get ambushed, robbed, shot, killed, anything. They could follow you back. It just, no. People aren't going to be friendly. The friendly people are going to lose out to the people who are not friendly because they're willing to do worse things, sink lower, use force, and do bad things. So there's nobody left to trade with. Somebody who would want to trade with liquor is not, or for liquor is not somebody I want to deal with because they're, I would deem an immoral person. No offense. Then what else do people say? Oh, medicinal. You could take really high proof alcohol and put it on a wound. That's in the top 10 on dumbest things I've ever heard. All alcoholic beverages that I am aware of, except for maybe modern synthetic stuff, has calories in it. Because it has carbohydrates, because that's how it works. That's called sugar. It literally has what bacteria eat in it, so if you pour it on a wound, the alcohol, first of all, denatures the surface of the proteins on your cells and makes it way slower and more difficult to heal, and you'll have a massive scar. So really you shouldn't use even rubbing alcohol on it. Hydrogen peroxide does the same to a lesser degree, but iodine, just buy liquid iodine. It's the most effective, the most stable, and it doesn't cost very much. Why don't you have iodine? But yeah, the alcohol evaporates real quickly, the sugar is left, and now you've got a bunch of bacteria that'll move in from the air and everything you touch, and your sweat, and just whatever lives on your skin, and stuff moving around, and your clothing, and you ain't gonna be living in a real sterile environment if there's any kind of incident of any size, really. So no, don't go pouring vodka on your wounds. That even is an emergency thing. I think people say it's an emergency thing because they assume you might be in the hospital within like 24 hours when they notice you're missing and you get rescued and you're like out in the forest or something. Otherwise, in a true grid down, alcoholic beverages have absolutely no use whatsoever. Oh, okay, I'll take that back. Replacement Listerine. There you go. You can swish around in your mouth and kill bacteria. Not a priority. Baking soda and floss, guys. Come on. Number 2, shampoo. I mean, this one's pretty simple. A lot of people are like, oh yeah, it has like a near infinite shelf life. Well, hate to break it to you, but the plastic bottles are really low grade plastic. So they will leak and then you get sticky, gooey stuff all over. But really, the point that I made in an earlier video, if you didn't see it, was I just didn't wash my hair with shampoo. I just use water and that's it for, I don't remember, 1 week, 2 weeks, however long it was. And my hair was fine. It didn't look horrible, didn't smell horrible. It was fine. Water was just fine for hair. Now I have very short hair. I mean, I can grow it out to about 3-4 inches once in a while, but yeah, I don't have like crazy long hair. So I'm not sure if this would work for women. I'm pretty sure it wouldn't work for like dreadlocks. So yeah, you just don't need it. It's dirt cheap. You could have 12 of them sitting there and look at them and be like, wow, I'm set for life. But really, it's just not an item you need. It's easy, it's cheap, but it takes up room. It's difficult to store because it's like a liquid that can really contaminate the stuff around it if it leaks. And it will leak because the plastic is just garbage. So you just don't need it. Now, you never want to think of things just on the surface level. You want to think, okay, what other uses would this have? Because if one thing has 5 uses and one thing has 1 use, you got to weigh that along with shelf life and cost of acquiring and how large and heavy it is for storage, how easy it is to transport, all that sort of thing. Dirt cheap, shelf stable except for the bottle, but it has no other purpose. You might be able to wash something with it. You can maybe wash your hands with it, but then just buy liquid soap. And a lot of liquid soap and even bar soap has an antibacterial compound in it that is very important. I would be astonished if shampoo did because that wouldn't make any sense. This next one's going to blow your mind, okay? liquid bleach. And before you put your fist through your monitor and say this guy's an idiot, I just checked my bathroom. Okay, so $2.50-ish. 1 gallon weighs 8 pounds. Fairly low-grade plastic. 5.25% bleach. That's enough to fully bleach, like, maybe a bathtub and a toilet a couple times. That's about it. Now, there will be mold. What do you do about it? You might think, oh, he's about to propose a different chemical. No, powdered bleach. Why would you get it pre-mixed? Why are you buying 1 gallon of water with a tiny amount of bleach in it? Just buy the powder. And people say, oh yeah, I'm going to get like all the pool supplies, pool tablets, pool shock or whatever. Just buy powdered bleach for cleaning and for sanitizing, because then you know it's for that. In fact, unscented would be lovely too. So I'm looking online. Okay, name brand on their website, MSRP. So this is top dollar. I guarantee you could find it cheaper. $16 right now, but it's 1.32 pounds, which is 600 grams. So, about half a kilo. 21 ounces as far as volume. So about 0.6 liters. It makes 60 gallons of bleach. Half a kilo can make a quarter ton, imperial ton, but still, of bleach mix. So if you're stockpiling liquid bleach, you're doing it wrong. Now, I wouldn't leave it in the original plastic container. It's a fairly volatile reactive compound, so I like to think it's like pretty good plastic, but if you get the off-brands, they cheap out on everything, and I doubt it's UV treated to like survive in ultraviolet light. The plastic will start breaking down, it'll leak, and when you get bleach powder all over, you're gonna have a bad day. So I would strongly recommend anything like this, store it in glass. So get out your pickle jar, pour it in there, label it, you're good. Mason jar, whatever. I mean, that's glass. Glass is non-reactive, real simple. Now, do be careful. I don't usually shout out brands, but in this case, I'm going to make an exception. So Clorox is the one I was looking at. They sell pure powdered bleach. Ajax sells powder cleanser with bleach. The word with on the container is about 2 millimeters. From any kind of distance, it says Ajax bleach, so watch out for that. Now, what do you need it for? Well, if you have a 50-gallon drum or whatever of water, it's rainwater, and you want to make it safe, make sure there's zero bacteria in it, you don't want to bother to boil it, or you can't, or there's like, moss, algae, whatever, some kind of contamination. Or if you're storing it in the first place, it is clean and you want to keep it that way. The human body can tolerate a very tiny amount of bleach. Don't quote me on this, but I think it's like 2 tablespoons of liquid bleach in like 50 gallons or something is enough to preserve it but still be drinkable. It ain't going to taste great, but it is what it is. I'd rather send it through a paper coffee filter and then boil it, but, what if that's not an option? But I've got all manner of water filtration, so that would be the last thing I would use it for. Killing mold. Everybody says, I'm going to bug in, I'm going to stay in my house. Wherever I am, that's where I'm going to be. Well, extended grid down, no electricity, no dehumidifier, so if you got a basement, you can kiss that goodbye. You could buy yourself some time when the mold starts growing on the walls from the condensation by coating it in certain compounds, because you might think, okay, wait a minute, Amazon rainforest, people just building huts and basic like mud huts and whatever, how do they not have a massive mold issue? Well, it's because they're not sealed. There's airflow, there's sunlight, there's probably still mold, but then they can just kind of patch it. And long story short, there's nothing you're going to do to modify your house to not grow mold. So you're going to have to kill it, and bleach is pretty much the only way to do it. I could show you some pictures of some places that were closed for just 3 years. A lot of them, people came in and vandalized, broke some windows, so it was open to the air, but not enough. Just enough to let the water and the mold spores in. But you know what? Go look in your bathroom. There's mold in there somewhere right now. It's just going to keep growing out of control. You need to stop it. If the air ain't breathable in your place, you're in trouble. So I did look to find pure bleach in bulk, and Amazon and eBay, kind of hard to find actually. But I did find a chemical supply company. Not going to name them because I don't know if they're good or not, but you can get a 50-pound bucket sealed of powdered bleach for $145. That's kind of a lot. But I mean, 22 kilograms, that's a pretty good price. Next up, this is going to be kind of controversial. This is very situational, but you don't necessarily need a hatchet, a folding saw, a bow saw, or like really big, significant wood processing equipment. And before you dislike and unsubscribe, if you live in like, I don't know, a 50,000 person city, there was a huge weather event, like we're talking, or maybe even like an earthquake or like a, I don't know, something like that, a hurricane. So you're effectively living in shelters, very little electricity. If you watch my channel, you got some electricity. But, you're basically out in the woods even if you're out in your city. So you're not in like a 10 million person city where everybody's just shooting each other over the last bag of whatever. But you're still like, okay, this is grid down for 2 weeks to a month, we'll say. No, nobody's necessarily coming. It's a little bit too big to have like the Red Cross roll up with, you know, granola bars. And let's be honest, FEMA ain't coming no matter who you are. But at that scale, would you be super set to go with for heating and campfires and cooking and purifying water with like a wood splitter, a hatchet, or like a big folding saw, a bow saw that could take down like a 12-inch tree or like a limb or something and start making processed firewood? You see it all the time on the Discovery Channel. You see it all the time on YouTube. Those people are just doing it because they can. The real hardcore, I've done it before survivalists, and even them, let me just throw this out there, they'll bring it just for convenience. But some of the true knowledgeable experts will tell you, and this is absolutely true, you can't burn green stuff anyway, so you're not taking down trees unless you're going to dry it for 6 months to a year. Certain species of trees, bare minimum 6 weeks. So you're going to process it and stack it while you don't have like a home because your home got flooded, it's covered in mold, or it's a Target, or, you know, there's people going door to door, or it burned down, or you're not at home. Okay, now what, are you just going to stack it and dry it for 6 weeks, half a year? Like, it'll be a different season. That doesn't even make sense. So that's out. Now what do you do? So, well, you can't just pick up little handheld branches and burn that because one log versus, you know, a 1/4-inch branch, by the time you walk out, grab another dead branch and throw it on the fire, that one will be burned. I mean, that's starter fuel, basically. It's pretty much nothing. If you can snap it with your hands, it's too small to maintain an actual respectable fire unless you're just going to cook something real quick for 15 minutes. And that's just all you had and you're time crunched and whatever. Or like limited mobility or whatever. But, okay, you found what they call, I actually forgot the term. It's like Dead Rising is a video game. Dead standing, I believe, is the term. Dead trees that are leaning and not on the ground. There you go. So they didn't pick up moisture, they didn't pick up mold, they didn't start breaking down. They've got a lot of carbon, a lot of chemical energy, but they're up in the air, so nothing really started messing with it too much. Eventually, rain and mushrooms and moss are going to get to it, but not yet. There's a lot of that in the average forest. Any kind of wind damage, storm damage, or just natural stuff, you know, certain species dying off because of something, some bug, some whatever, just, you know, the tree's just old. Not all of them live for 100 plus years. So it or part of it fell over. Maybe it's just, you know, that part isn't in sunlight anymore, so it's dead. You can snap it off. You can, you know, saw it off with a quick little thing, or, I mean, it's just going to be around. Well, now this is 8 feet long. How do I get that on the fire? It's simple. You put the middle of it on the fire and let it burn through. Let the fire cut the firewood for you. It's you just sit there and watch it. You do nothing. You warm up. You cook some food over it, and then you just move it over. And I got 2. Then you do burn the middle of those. You got 4. And it is so dangerous. The injury to a bone or to your skin from a saw slip or like an injury from a hatchet or wood splitter is horrific. You are just about guaranteed to die. One little slip. There's all these things where, like, when you're swinging, you want to go on your knees, that the arc always would, if you miss, would bury, and then you're going to be tired. You're going to be, maybe your eyes are messed up because of, you know, pollen or whatever. Lack of sleep, I don't know, whatever. Maybe you're sick. You probably will be. Watch my video on that. And now you're going to go try and do precise stuff. You know how many people end up in the hospital just in modern times because of perfectly good condition wood splitting and stuff? You're not going to be processing firewood. You're just not. That is just not what's going to happen. It is so much energy, too. It is ridiculous. So sorry, but the big tool's not really good. Now, that said, I would have a little miniature, like 8 to 12 inch, you know, folding saw, maybe, just to do a quick little, there it is. Okay, you know, 4-inch branch off. Cool. Because like I said, if you could snap it with your hands, it's too small to be relevant for an ongoing fire that'll last more than 30 minutes. Well, then if you can't snap it with your hands and you already have to have a fire going to cut the other ones, you know, what do you want? You want either those little finger saws, but the really cheap ones like to burn out after like 1 minute. It's ultra compact, it's light, it's nice. I probably would feel comfortable taking down a 1 to 2 inch branch with it if I got a really good tested one, but it dulls really quickly. It's kind of a dumb gimmick. You can put 5 of them in your backpack, but that's a little excessive. You can't really do much with a knife without damaging it potentially, or at the very least dulling it. So like, what are you going to do to get mid-sized proper firewood? Well, you're going to need something. I mean, you could have a larger knife with just serration and just kind of make that work. those are usually like 12-inch knives, which are basically short swords. So, I mean, you gotta have something. But I've seen little miniature hacksaws, like open-ended hacksaws. Those are super light plastic handle. You could get a couple replacement blades and even put them in the handle in some cases. That'll get it done. Hacksaws don't have the biggest teeth, though. They're meant for metal. They're not meant for like wood like that. But remember, you're going to be going after dry dead wood, so But the smallest folding saw with big teeth, I think, would be what you'd want to go. Anything other than that, I've got a hatchet because of the book Hatchet. Nah, dude. Although he was out there for a while, but that whole scenario, very unrealistic. So now it's a lot of information because firewood and just making fire is a huge topic. But the takeaway from this is if you're going to be in one place for a month or traveling, you don't need large firewood processing equipment. If you're going to go live in a cabin in the woods for 1+ years, you do, because then you'll have the 6 weeks to 6 months you need to dry the firewood, because you'll be taking down trees that are actually still alive. Otherwise, let the fire cut the big stuff for you and then burn the smaller stuff after taking it down with just, your arms hanging from it, crack it off. You're looking for dead wood anyway. Or some small little loppers or the smallest large tooth saw that you can get. The next thing that you don't need, and there is a little caveat to this, is gold and silver. Don't listen to those, first of all, outright scammers that advertise on all the major conservative, smaller networks, whether that be on TV or on podcasts or any of that. Everyone has been found out to be horribly overpriced, horrible scams, management prices. Okay, you want to buy it? Go on eBay. Stay away from Amazon. Those prices are terrible. Find a seller with 1 million feedback that has a 20-year-old account and buy from them. It's that simple. 3-step program. You'll get it for like $1.10 above spot, okay? And they won't be counterfeits full of tungsten. Oh, but I can get it cheaper somewhere else. No, you can't. It's a scam. But here's a fun quiz where you can play along at home. Do you live in the United States? Okay, if you answered yes, you don't need gold or silver. Any of it. 0. Food, self-defense items, and tools, those will trade just fine in case of an economic collapse. And if America's economy goes down, we're taking the world with us. Nobody will want your little bar of gold or silver unless they're going to load it into a slingshot and fire it at somebody to steal their food and water. As they say, you can't eat gold. Do you live in a country the same size or smaller than France, and double points if it's not considered first world? You should own gold and silver. A tiny percentage of your budget, your net worth, whatever, should be gold and silver. Because if Venezuela collapses, if El Salvador has some issues, if Peru's economy collapses, if even Russia's economy collapses, you can just go anywhere. Go to Europe, go to America, and start selling off some of your gold and silver. They'll still want it. The demand will still be there. Nothing happened to them. But like I said, if America goes down, we're the #1 producer of pretty much everything anybody cares about, and we're the #1 buyer of anything anybody cares about selling. So if that goes away, your country, no matter who you are or where you are, cannot survive that. So that's why I said, if we go down, we're taking you with us. So unless you're going to eat that silver, don't even bother. Now that said, yeah, I've got a small amount of bars. I got like $100 to $200 worth of silver at any given time and 0 gold, because what's the point? But I mean, silver's a conductor, and I'm more like, if nothing happens, which, would be nice, it is the best conductor of electricity in the entire world. There is nothing better within reason that we can easily manufacture or deal with. And what do we keep using more of and upgrading the grid? And isn't there like, I want to say half a kilogram. I feel like that's a little large. Several ounces, though, I think, of silver in every single EV. Because like certain battery interlinks and certain contacts, they just cannot have that much resistance there from copper. So, just saying. Wind turbines, pretty sure they use a small amount. So I think it's going to go up. This is not investment advice, but it's just, okay, well, bare minimum, it's probably going to keep up with, the random economy and inflation and all that. It fluctuates wildly too, so I could just sell it on a high. So like, I'm not worried that it's spent money and it's gone, So I have it in case something doesn't happen, just to diversify, gotta not have all your money in one bank and that's it, period. In fact, go to a credit union. I've got a lot more paper cash sitting around in a fireproof bag. We reviewed a $9 fireproof bag on eBay, by the way, if you didn't see that video. And works fine. 2,400 degrees it survived. Didn't even change the color on receipt paper. See, we keep it cheap on this channel, man. If I'm doing a gear review, it's because I found something dirt cheap and I want to know if it works. So yeah, electricity goes out, or they don't like something I said and pretend I'm Canadian. Some interesting dictator likes to say, we're going to shut down your bank account until you apologize and go to retraining. Which, if you're like, that's ridiculous. No, that happened. That literally happened. Trucker protest. Look it up. I can still spend money. I can still buy stuff. I can still do whatever I want because I got a couple hundred sitting around, you know? But gold and silver, I got to liquidate that. I got to advertise that. I got to put it up on like Facebook Marketplace if I had somebody who'll pay spot. So if the demand goes down, that's gone. You've got nothing. And it's heavy. It's easily damaged-ish. There's just no point. No point whatsoever unless you live in a smaller country and you think just you might collapse. Then, yeah, get out of there. I mean, that could be your ticket out of there. You show that to somebody on a boat somewhere and they'll be like, yeah, I'm bringing somewhere to sell it. I'll take that as a payment. You know, what do they want? Your local currency? So this last one is a real quick topic because I've already talked about it in at least one video, probably two. Cast iron cookware. You don't need it. Whoa, it lasts 100 years. You can pass it down in your family. And what an investment. It's the best of the best, indestructible. It is not. If you've always got the oil to reseason it, you always babysit it, you're always taking perfect care of it with all that time and all that resources and all that extra oil that you're going to put on it, clean it properly at exact temperatures and intervals, and it's iron, it rusts, it's too heavy, it's garbage. I'm sure it's lovely for around the house if you're sick of buying, non-stick every 3 years and low-grade steel garbage, but I got news for you. It's 2024. Material science has improved since the 1800s. Buy thick anodized aluminum pots and pans. They are the opposite of non-stick, but they don't need to be seasoned. Actually, specifically, don't buy ones that are non-stick because you put them over a fire, it'll vaporize all of the Teflon into delightful cancer vapors, and then it'll contaminate your food forever. And then things will start sticking. So hard to find some old school stuff. I think a lot of like 1970s Calphalon, I think was the brand. They had some pretty good anodized aluminum stuff. And if you see that stuff, you just go hands on with it one time. You just take one look at it. Yeah, this is never going to fall apart, crack, nothing. It is the toughest. And unlike ceramic stuff, which is usually just glass coated and then usually Teflon on the glass, one, it conducts heat, unlike, ceramic insulators, and two, you could drop that thing 6 feet and it won't shatter. Okay, it won't crack in half. You could probably drop it from orbit and it wouldn't shatter. It is the best for durability and the worst at pretty much everything else. It heats up too quickly, it gets hot spots, stuff sticks to it like crazy, but it's not going anywhere. It's not going to functionally break. So don't buy cast iron. It is way too hard to take care of if you've got limited resources. So that's it for this video, but I got more notes. We're going to have more in this series. So, hey, subscribe if you want to see some more. And if you like the references to my older videos and you're like, yeah, I'd be interested in some of that, give it the old scroll through. We do a lot of electronics and minor gear reviews, just how you can get away with like doing this one thing, like charging your cell phone for the absolute cheapest possible, building a quick little battery for the absolute lowest price possible, power a freezer for the lowest price possible. We've covered all of it. Who the heck is we? Well, me and the voices in my head are going to go edit this. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and check out more, like I said, because there's more good stuff to come, and I'll see you guys next time.